comments on an issue of importance to everybody, because we wait every day, Congressman Ross, not for the bills, but for the good stuff that comes from the post office. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jamie.
How dire is the financial condition of our U.S. Post Office?
Well, it's pretty dire, and let me tell you, they're not meeting their financial obligations. And unfortunately, because of the decline in first-class mail, the increase in labor costs, the Postal Service is going to be insolvent at the end of this fiscal year, which is October 1st. And we have to make some major changes to reform not only the system of the Postal Service, but also the type of business model that they've been using. We have to change significantly.
Who has authority to do that?
Well, the United States Congress is the one who empowers the Postal Service to operate. The Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act that was passed in 2006 ceded more power to the Postal Service so that they could continue to be self-sufficient, so they wouldn't use taxpayer dollars. Unfortunately, again, because of the decline in the first-class mail, there's been a sharp decline in revenues with an increase in expenses, and so you've got a situation where they will not be able to meet their obligations by the end of the fiscal year, and I would say by the first of the calendar year next year, we're going to have some dire situations where they may not even be able to make payroll.
You mentioned the mail volume declining, and my information says that mail volume declined 13% or 25 billion pieces compared to 2008. Yes. Why is that?
Well, electronic media, has become a lot more dominant. People are paying their bills by electronic media. The Postal Service still, goes into 150 million homes a day that they deliver mail. So the infrastructure is there. And it's not a matter of whether they're competing against FedEx or competing against UPS. Actually, those two other organizations act interdependent with the Postal Service, because the Postal Service contracts with FedEx to deliver their mail by way of airplanes. UPS also delivers some of their mail by way of trucks. The Post Office delivers the last mile of some of the deliveries for UPS and for FedEx. So it's a good relationship. Unfortunately, the Postal Service, again, with 80% of their costs going to labor, has not adjusted to the market changes that we've seen as a result of technology.
So how much money are we talking about, you think? And should it be privatized?
I don't think it should be privatized, but it can be downsized and made more efficient. We have a lot of duplication in the processing centers. We know that the Government Accountability Office has issued a report saying that they've got overcapacity in their processing centers. We could close some of our post offices, which politically is not one of the safest things to do, because when that happens, people call me and say, "Why are you closing my post office?" But if it's not making money, if it's not at least meeting its expenses, then we ought to reconsider having it. But there are ways to do this innovatively. We can deal with existing retail outlets and put post offices in there, whether it be a grocery store, a drugstore, or some place where people frequent on a regular basis. We can put a post office in there. We can do it cheaper than a standalone facility. We can use technology more for the post office. But again, it's all going to come back to having to deal with the labor costs that the post office has.
So what congressional proposals are already in place? Are there any?
Oh, yes. Congressman Darrell Issa from California has just filed a postal reformation bill a couple of weeks ago, which I have co-sponsored, that sets up several sections to allow for a commission to look at the closing of post offices, saving $1 billion a year in consolidating postal processing facilities, closing post offices that are not performing well, and also creating an authority similar to what Washington, D.C. had when it was having insolvency problems, so that the authority would then take over and start managing the business as a business. The other things we're looking at is, quite frankly, going from a 6 to 5 day delivery service. Many people don't want to hear that, but unfortunately, if you can't make it go with 6 days, you got to reduce your costs. And so there's a major postal reform bill out there that Congressman Issa has. Senator Collins in the Senate has one as well. So this will be the issue after we resolve the debt ceiling, and hopefully we will do that soon. But this will be the main issue that you will see confronting our Congress in the next 3 months.